Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. I am your host, TheRealGen, and in today's video we are going to be talking about what fighting games should you pick to start your FGC journey. Basically a spin-off or an additional part to my controllers versus fight stick conversation. But to start off this conversation, I'm gonna lay out this first very important rule for y'all when choosing how to start off your FGC journey. I'm not gonna name any names of any games right now. So the first very important part of your FGC journey is to find a game that you think is awesome and that clicks with you personally in your heart of hearts. Okay. You don't want to go based off what your friends saying or what the internet is saying is the best fighting game, because if you don't truly love the game for its art style, the characters, the music, or the mechanics, you're not gonna last a week with the game. There are a lot of fighting games that I have played where it doesn't click with me, and in less than a week I'm dropping it. One good example of that is Dungeon Fighters, the fighting game that came out in early 2021, I believe. I will correct myself if I am wrong, but you want to pick a game that looks good, not the game that has the easiest mechanics or the game that everybody's saying is cool. That is literally the main point of the FGC, is to be a contender with everybody that loves the same game as you, to see who's the better character or who's the better player in a game that we all love collectively. So that is the first point that I'm gonna make. So the second point that I want to make is trying to find your perfect match in a fighting game is not the most difficult, but I'm gonna give you guys some options and I'm gonna create subgenres so that way it's a little easier for you guys to be able to differentiate holy shit, the type of fighting games that there are. So for the first category that I'm going to talk about is the blockbuster experience. These are the higher budget games with a lot of polish and basically a lot of cinematics added to them to make them more make them seem more like, oh, this is a movie experience, if you get what I'm trying to say. So the first game that I want to talk about within this category is Street Fighter 6. Street Fighter 6 is known to be one of the harder, or not Street Fighter 6, but Street Fighter in general is known to be one of the harder games to get into as a newcomer in the fighting game scene. But with the new edition of Street Fighter 6, they have basically switched that around with the addition of modern controls. Modern controls makes it to where a lot of newcomers can actually pick up the game and learn a lot of cool stuff without the difficulties of classic controls. And I feel personally this would have been very dope to have added into previous versions of Street Fighter, like Street Fighter 4, for example, which is the fighting game that got me into fighting games in general. And there's also a lot of single player content for those that don't really like to play online or don't really want to get into the online experience, even though I feel a lot of you that are watching this are actually here for the online experience and for the competitive nature of the fighting game community. But just to touch on this point, if you're like trying to look for a break or something or something along those lines, Street Fighter 6 is the way to go. They have added a new story mode / RPG mode where you create a character and you go and explore the land of Street Fighter 6. Street Fighter 6 is very unique in that way. I know previous versions of Street Fighter have done a world tour mode, which is what the single player mode is called within Street Fighter 6, but this takes it a little further beyond that. In this mode, you are able to go and create your own character and learn the skills that all the characters within the game have. And your first master is Luke, which is the main character of Street Fighter 6, and who they are trying to make the poster boy of the Street Fighter series. And throughout the game, you get to choose each new master that you want to learn skills from. And if you do decide to hop online, there is a online mode where it is called the Battle Hub, and you go in as your creative character and you can face off against other creative characters and see what combination of skills each player has decided for their character. This is a way for you as the player to express yourself and to express what fighting styles you like, in my opinion. The next game that I want to talk about is Tekken 8, which is a 3D fighter. This game has also made it a lot easier for newcomers to come in to the scene with the special style control option, which is basically modern controls. But the reason why I would say Tekken 8 is because, number one, I am biased. Tekken 8 is actually the first 3D fighter game to actually get me into the 3D scene. I have played other versions of Tekken, but nothing really got me into the Tekken scene as much as Tekken 8, especially Victor. But later on down the line, I kind of lost interest with Victor, and I started playing Jin, which is the main character of Tekken 8 and Tekken 3. And I feel that Jin is one of the dopest characters so far, which returns back to my previous point in finding a game that you love and that the art style will hold you there for basically the entire lifespan of the game. But to move on from that, Tekken 8 also has a very captivating story mode. You follow Jin and his long battle with his father Kazuya and how they plan to take him down. You play as multiple different characters from the roster, including Jin himself, and you get to see his progression throughout the story, and the way that he changes the character development basically of the story is really good. There's also a lot of legendary moments within the story mode, and even on ranked gameplay online. They have this slowdown feature where if you and an opponent basically go at each other at the same time, if your opponent counters you or you counter your opponent, depends on what move you do basically, but they give you a slowed down frame to see which one of you will get the counter, and you can follow up with basically your combo string. And they've also added a new a new feature or a new mechanic, which is called heat. And it's not comparable to the drive gauge in Street Fighter 6, at least to me, but it gives you like a smaller cinematic super than when you have your rage art. But that is another fighting game within the blockbuster category that I would suggest to people that are looking for a 3D fighter. It also has a lot of cool characters within it, like Jin and Victor, as I said before. And in previous editions, and even in Tekken 8, they have had guest characters. And in this game, if you're a Final Fantasy fan, one of the guest characters that they have added is Clive from Final Fantasy 16, which I think is actually one of the best guest characters that they could have added, besides Noctis from Final Fantasy 15 in Tekken 7, and Geese Howard from KOF also in Tekken 7. But there's still a long future for both of these games, and there's a lot more characters being added each year. with each season that is being added to these games. So look forward to that. There might be some guest characters that you love and that you want to go ahead and see how they would play in a fighting game. But to move on from that category of fighting games, we're going to move on to our next category, which is the anime / spectacle seeker style of fighting games. These are games that don't put a lot of what should I say, polish into them, but they do have a lot of great animation, great, I would like to say, art style, and it's just insane action, pure and unfiltered hype throughout the whole thing. The first game that within this category that is actually one of the biggest hits to have occurred within this category of fighting game is Dragon Ball Z Fighters. Now let me tell you, when I saw this game, I lost my shit, because I am a Dragon Ball Z fan through and through. Yes, I have other anime fighting games that I enjoy, but to have a 2D fighting game with characters that have had previous iterations of fighting games, I feel like Dragon Ball Z Fighters hits the spot where it needs to be hit. It hits the G spot, okay? There's a lot of characters from Super and different variations of the Dragon Ball Z series within this game. So this was like, holy shit, this was like bean-boozling. You had Goku Black, you had Gotenks, Goku, Vegeta, of course, with their Super Saiyan Blue variations being separate characters, and then you have the fusion variations of both of them, Gogeta and Vegito, within the game. The controls within the game are simplified to a 4-button layout, so you don't have heavy, medium, and light. It's light, medium, special, I believe, or light, medium, heavy. And if you do it, like, for example, if you hit the button like 5 times, it does an auto combo. So they have auto combos within the game of Dragon Ball Fighters, and they have basically doing your own combo, which is you just hit each button at the time that it is necessary to hit those buttons. And this game is also a tag fighting game, so you have 3 characters on each team. You as the player have 3 characters, and your opponent, whether you're playing online or single player, has a 3-character team as well, which also adds, I feel, to this beloved anime series as a fighting game, unlike Budokai Tenkaichi, which I also love. But this, I feel like Dragon Ball FighterZ adds a little more extra with the tag system in it. There are also a lot of cool mechanics within the Dragon Ball Fighters game. You have basically a slap away if your opponent tries to do a ki blast or tries to do a special attack. You can basically smack your opponent away. It's not really a parry, but that is one of the cooler aspects of the game, at least from my standpoint. You also have a I forget what is the name for it, but this is like your grab, I would say, where you basically dash in and you do like basically a barrage of punches and kicks, and if I remember correctly, it launches your opponent in the air and you can follow up after that. But the next game that I want to talk about is going back to the 1v1 aspect of the fighting game community, and is one of the best selling fighting games for this company, is Guilty Gear Strive. While Dragon Ball Z is perfectly recreates the martial arts of Dragon Ball Z, the anime, Guilty Gear Strive is phenomenal for what it is, which is the anime fighter. The previous iterations were good, but they were so what's the word I'm looking for? Though Guilty Gear was for a specific group of people at the time that it originally came out. But with the addition of Guilty Gear Strive, this game, let me tell you, this game took people that have never even heard of Guilty Gear in general, and they came out of the boondocks and was playing this, and they were like, oh my god, how have I never played this game before? But this game is not hard to learn, but it is hard to master the character that you will love. So you will be putting in a lot of hours into this game if you do enjoy this game and you would like to get to like the top tier of this game. The soundtrack of this game is heavily inspired by rock music, especially when you listen to some of the tracks. They are really rock heavy inspired. This game also has a wonderful art style. I feel that the characters themselves have very vibrant color schemes to them. This game is also, to me, the canceling system that they have for if you're in the middle of a combo and you do like, for example, Angie Mitos, he has like a twirl that leads into a DP basically. That's how I feel I should explain it. Is basically an anti-air move. If you hit I don't remember the button combination exactly, but there's a certain combination of buttons that you hit that lead into a Roman, what is called a Roman cancel, and you get this nice big flash to indicate that you've done it, and you can follow up with more attacks after it, which I feel was very cool when I experienced it, doing my combos on screen and then going into that is freaking phenomenal. Then you also have the dust button, which is basically a very strong attack that launches your opponent into the air, and you can follow after your opponent and basically do air combos. And that's another thing that really intrigued me about this game. This game is really cool, and even though before it had, I would say, not a small competitive scene, but not a very large competitive scene either, Strive has changed that completely. This is one of the biggest fighting games out, and it has one of the biggest competitive scenes as of the time of Strive being released, and there are continual updates to the game. I don't know with this latest update if this is going to be the last set of characters, but with the big cast of characters that it does have, I feel that nobody is basically left out from having a character within this game. So for the secret boss category, I say this because if you're a fighting game character, or if you're part of the FGC and you've played a lot of fighting games, especially the arcade runs of them, you know that the developers like to add secret bosses. But the final category, the secret boss category, as I like to say, is the party starter category. These are games that you don't really like the 1v1 aspect or drain the life bar aspect of 2D fighting games like Street Fighter, Dragon Ball FighterZ, Guilty Gear, and Tekken, and so on and so forth. This is a game that you and your friends can hop on, not even needing to touch a fight stick, and the biggest, most hypest game I can say in the fighting game community that is a part of this category is Smash Ultimate. And let me just say, I'm not gonna lie, Smash Ultimate had me by the balls, man. Smash Ultimate is one of the best fighting games out there if you just want to have fun with your friends. I didn't really care for the online aspect, so I'm not gonna really talk about that. But for the have fun, smack each other around, basically aspect of Super Smash Bros., it is phenomenal. They have, like I said about guest characters earlier with Tekken 8, this is the game that is guest character galore. You have a whole bunch of characters from the Nintendo catalog facing off against fighting game characters from different companies. They've added so much into Super Smash Bros. That it is fucking a fever dream. Like, this is like, I don't encourage drug use, but from what I've heard stories wise, is like you are on an acid trip of fighting games and you're like, I want to see this character versus this character, and it's like, oh my god. They literally have Steve from Minecraft. How you make a Minecraft character a fighting game character, I have no idea, but Smash Bros was able to do it, and it was phenomenal. They even added the 2 most coolest characters from the Final Fantasy series into this game. Let me explain this. They added Sephiroth and Cloud. Damn, I think that sounded like an orgasm. But that's besides the point, okay? You were able to add Square Enix characters, one of the most expensive characters, I feel. Like, if you're trying to get the rights to these characters, that's a lot of moolah that you need right there, right? They were able to add these characters into this game and make them cool as hell once again. I mean, they were already cool to begin with. They just made it cooler because they're fighting against Nintendo and Capcom characters as well, and SNK, because they even have Ken and Ryu and Terry Bogard. Like, how can you, they even have Kazuya from Tekken in this. How can, this is guest character galore. They even have Sora from Kingdom Hearts. Where are all my Kingdom Hearts fans? We all have to get on this game and fight as Sora against one another. But yeah, if you're just looking for a game to go and smack your friends around, no, go. If you're looking for a fighting game for you and your friends just to have fucking phenomenal fun, Super Smash Bros. Is the game for you. For the third point within this conversation, if you're not here for just the casual side of the fighting game community and you are here for the competitive side, we have a lot more to talk about. You are the type of person that watched the EVO Grand Finals or the CEO Grand Finals or even the Combo Breaker Grand Finals and was like, this is what I want to do. I want to be on the big stage and face off against my opponent and get my name known, or just be a part of these big competitive scenes within the fighting game community. You want to learn your character, you want to grind, you want to be the very best that you can be. Some of the games for that are some games that we have talked about previously, like Street Fighter 6. It is still one of the top recommended, at least from my point, and I think from other people's point of view as well, for being competitive. The reason for that is very, very simple. The game teaches you about itself through the training of the game. You can literally just hop into training mode and it teaches you how to space out certain attacks. It teaches you how to counter against wake up DP or blocking a wake up attack and going in for a counter attack. And it also tells you about the risk and reward system. It tells you how to manage your resources, so on and so forth. Street Fighter 6 is the master at all of this without making it to where it's not understandable, if that makes sense. Its training mode is very open for you as the player to explore. They give you the frame data. They tell you, basically the frame data is like, if I throw this button out, how much frames of recovery does it have? Or am I positive, which means that you are able to safely block if your opponent tries to counter? Or am I negative, which means if I throw out a Shoryuken and I'm coming down, I'm most definitely getting countered and getting a lot of health taken away. And Street Fighter 6 is also a good way to learn the grammar of the fighting game community with the command list of some characters. They tell you DP, which is the Dragon Punch or Shoryuken, and it gives you quarter circle forward motions. It has literally a word or an acronym definitions at the very bottom, so it's very easy for you to learn with Street Fighter 6. If you're more into the competitive 3D scene, Tekken 8 is the way to go. The journey is long when it comes to mastering the movement of just one character that you love and enjoy. The move list is very, 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 very large for a lot of these characters. But the payoff, once you get to learn them and you actually are able to incorporate them into your combo strings, is very, very, very appealing. The competitive ceiling feels infinite with the amount of people that are playing Tekken 8 and how well the Tekken 8 scene is seen, or the Tekken 8 scene is within the fighting game community. There's a lot of competitive scenes for this, a lot of tournaments for Tekken 8 online and local within in person. So there is not very little scenery for you guys to go out and explore as Tekken 8 players or 3D fighting game newcomers. Now, the fourth game that I wanted, or the third game technically that I want to talk about, is Guilty Gear Strive. This is the best fighting game for those that love high-speed, aggressive gameplay, that just want to get into it and basically beat the other opponent's ass. This game is all about overwhelming your opponent and coming at them with everything you got and trying to get them to basically lose their guard or try to get them to waste their burst, so that way they can't push you off of them, if you guys get what I'm trying to say here. Your creativity with each character is endless. From my experience with the game, that was literally the first fighting game that I believe I've posted on the channel besides Street Fighter 5, before even Street Fighter 6 was even announced. So yeah, competitive wise, I would like to say Guilty Gear Strive is one of the most high intensity aggressive fighting games there is, with a whirlwind of complex characters and complex interaction with split second decisions that need to be made while playing this game. But the reward and the creativity is phenomenal within this game. So for those of you that are looking for a more competitive or a little bit of a harder game to play, one of the newer fighting games that are out that is a little bit harder is on the team-based fighting game side of things, is KOF 15 Light Dragon Ball Fighters, but with a very, 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 very high technical skill gap, basically, if that makes sense. You need to have a lot of technical skill when it comes to this game. This game does teach you a lot of its mechanics, but I would say a lot of the motions in that game and a lot of the technicality of it is very, very hard to learn. It is a classic series with a very die-hard community. The game is loved by everyone. I even love KOF, but not King of Fighters specifically. I love its offshoot, which is Fatal Fury City of the Wolves, and also Fatal Fury in general with Terry Bogard, Billy, Andy, Mai. I love those games. But this is a very big game in the community, and it's a very technical game, but mastering it is a true badge of honor because it shows that you have a lot of experience with the FGC and the game itself, with it being so high in the technical sense of fighting games. Before I continue on to my fourth point, if this video is actually helping you guys take your first steps into the fighting game community and you guys want to see more content like this, go down below and hit the subscribe button to show me that people are actually really enjoying this and that is actually helping you guys, which actually brings me a lot of joy to see that I'm actually helping other people start their fighting game journey. And on the other note, if you guys have decided what fighting game you want to play and what fighting game you're gonna begin your FGC journey with, let me know down in the comment section what game that was and why you love it. If you guys want to see more character specific guides, also leave a comment down below about that, what characters you would like to see me do guides for. But without further ado, thank y'all for watching. Genre of fighting game that you want to get into, and if you decided that you're going in for the competitive or you're just going for the casual, here are the next few steps that you need to do. I personally would say get into tutorial mode, learn as much of the game that you can, or even while you're in tutorial mode, go into modern controls and do some modern control combos and try to learn the tutorial for your specific character, or the trials for your specific character, to try and get to know, okay, this is what I gotta do here, this is the move that needs to be done here, and then try and move up, work your way up to classic controls to where you know all the motions, you know what needs to be done, and that way you can move from your modern controls to classic controls, which I feel intensify the experience with the fighting game that you enjoy. Next, after going through the tutorial, learning as much of the mechanical aspect of the game and learning like spacing and so on and so forth, I would say go and look and see the character that you think is the coolest, that you think, oh, this is a character that I really love and enjoy, and go ahead and learn one combo. It doesn't have to be the highest damaging combo. It just needs to be one combo that you can practice and get it down packed. And it just needs to be a simple 2 to 3 hit combo, or 3 to 4 hit combo, right? So that way you can understand the combo structure for that character. And then later on, you can move up to higher and higher hit count combos, right? The next thing from that is to go play online, and this is more for the competitive aspect of the game. Go play online and learn to love losing. There's a lot of information that you can get from losing to your opponent. Like for me, for example, I lose a lot to Aki, right? But having that be my case, I am able to learn from those experiences. How can I close the gap between me and Aki, or how can I play the range game against her and make it to where it ends in my favor, so to speak, right? And there's just a lot of information that you can get from having lost more than having won, if that makes sense, right? Because a issue that I have a lot of the time when I'm playing fighting games is I like to jump in a lot. That is one of my greatest weak points. Jumping in is one of the greatest weak points that I have within fighting games. But I have learned not to jump in as much from those matches that I have lost, and I've also switched up from my main character and have picked up other characters that they don't have the greatest jump in attacks or abilities to follow up after a jump in, but they teach me how to stay more grounded, if that makes sense. The next thing I would say to do is to go and connect with the community of the game that you have chosen. I have done this multiple times, especially from going to Juicy Game Night tournaments, which is in Orlando, Florida. If you are into Street Fighter and you want to get into your first tournament, I would say Juicy is one of the best in-person fighting game tournaments to go to. I learned a lot from going to my first tournament. A lot of people have given me a lot of advice while I'm at these tournaments. And another tournament, if you're not really into the in-person aspect of it, Tampa Never Sleeps. Tampa Never Sleeps is a online-based fighting game tournaments. They host Tekken, Street Fighter, Ultimate Marvel 3, if you like Marvel vs. Capcom games. They also do Dragon Ball Fighters. And I would just say, after you're done in a match against your opponent, go ahead and shoot them a DM or add them on Discord, because that's mainly how the interactions with the Tampa Never Sleeps tournaments usually work out. Send a friend request on Discord and talk with your opponent and be like, hey, what do you think I could do better? Which I have also done. I have added people that I've seen play on TikTok or YouTube that are higher ranked than me, and I've had conversations with them, asking them like, hey, can you give me some pointers? Which don't be scared to interact with other people within your games community, because they are willing to help you. The gaming community, the FGC, is one of the best communities to go and learn from other people, I feel. But to end it here, there are a lot of fighting games that are full of life and are very, very welcoming, especially within the FGC community. This is literally the golden age of fighting games, with a lot of the developers actually listening to their community and putting in what us as the community would like to see within the game. There's also new fighting games coming out very, very soon, with 2XKO on the horizon, which is a fighting game that is based off League of Legends, and it is made by Riot Games. So be on the lookout for that if that is something that you guys want to be a part of. And it's going to be a new fighting game, so that way you guys can actually just hop in and be new like everybody else to the game itself. The there's always going to be a perfect fighting game for you as the audience. Yes, I am talking to you guys specifically. Throughout this whole thing, this has been for you guys. There will always be a fighting game that is for you. There is no fighting game that is, I would say, there's no fighting game that leaves people out, right? Now, there's not to say that certain fighting games won't be for you. Like, it might be just a slow burn, to be honest. Street Fighter 6 is like playing chess against an old man, to be honest. Street Fighter 6 is very strategic. It can be over the top sometimes with its stylish. Some fighting games can be over the top with stylish flash, like Guilty Gear Strive, or it might be wonderful and chaotic, like Super Smash Bros., like we talked about earlier. Don't let the fear of being a beginner in the fighting game community deter you from going into this journey. This journey has a lot of hardship, especially when it comes to, well, not a lot of hardship, let me not say that, but it is very difficult to get into this space, to have that competitive flame, to be like, okay, I lost, but what in this match can I do better to improve myself, right? And a lot of these games are very, very, very rewarding once you get past a hump. So once you get past your hump, the game is very, very rewarding in that aspect. The most important thing to do is just start. Get in that car, turn it on, and go for a drive. That's the best way I can explain it. This journey is for you guys to take, is for you guys to experience on your own. Everybody has their own different experiences. Like myself, I started off with Street Fighter 4. Street Fighter 5 is where I got into the competitive aspect of it. Like I've said in a previous video, Street Fighter 5 was the first game that gave me the competitive fire that I needed to be like, oh shit, I can actually do these things and get into a big screen or a wide community area and actually learn from these people. But without further ado, go grab your controllers, go hop in the game, go play online, go call your friend, be like, hey, yo, you want to run some matches real quick? Or even just have just literally call your friends over just for some fun and play some Smash Bros. that is literally the start of your FGC journey. Don't forget to always have fun when you're playing any fighting game. That is one major aspect that I personally feel is very important. But without further ado, thank you all for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.